kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
All right, we're ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, Martial Arts Podcast, where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends. You'll notice it's a little bit different. It's because Riverside wasn't working for one end, so Jake agreed to host on his end, so it looks a little different because it's his setup. Jake, you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yep, my name is Jake Sanderson. Most people on the internet know me as either Bladed Thesis or just Thesis. I do a weekly YouTube show called The Tea House. I also do a Monday night game stream, although I don't know if I'm redoing it tonight. We'll see what happens there.
Okay.
But I try to focus my show every Saturday on Chinese history, culture, philosophy, and martial arts.
Very cool. Jake, tell us how you got started in martial arts.
So I am very much a child of the 80s. So Ninja Turtles, Karate Kid, Enter the Ninja, Highlander, but all of that, every bit of it was Japanese, katanas across the board. Well, I just happened to, in 6th or 7th grade, middle school, basically, I went home one day and I usually had a very specific path I took to get home. And one day something just told me, no, go the other way. So I went the other way. And I came across an old Chinese man who was doing mantis. I was not aware it was mantis. It was just something that I had never seen before. And I was completely awestruck by what he was doing. He was moving so fluidly and so amazingly that I just kind of stopped to watch. I don't think he was aware that anyone was even watching him. It was just, he was like in the zone. When he kind of finished the form and kind of came back to himself, he noticed I was there. And he was there with his granddaughter, and he kind of motioned her to come over, and he pointed at me and said something to her. And I was like, oh shit, I better leave because I'm not supposed to see this. And she's like, no, come and sit. So I went and sat, and I watched their entire lesson. It was about, I want to say an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And afterwards, he's like, you come back tomorrow. And so I was his student from that point on.
That's awesome.
And unfortunately, because he was like in his 90s, I was only able to train with him for about a year until he died. And then I took some time off to mourn, and I got introduced by an uncle to Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee is the gateway to Chinese martial arts. From
Absolutely.
anyone ever picked up a homemade pair of nunchucks, watched all of his movies, and I picked up the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, started learning from that, and that lasted for quite a while. And then my partner in there took Tai Chi from the local community college, and I watched a few of those classes, and he became my second Shifu. I took his Kung Fu class, which brought me right back around full circle to learning Mantis again.
Mm, brilliant. I love it. What has kept you going this whole time in martial arts?
Curiosity mostly.
Good answer.
I love to learn. I've always been just a voracious learner.
Mhm.
So learning Mantis again, I learned the Yang Simplified 24 form that my
Mhm.
partner was learning in her class without actually going to the class,
Yeah, but from watching, yeah.
just watching like a
Yeah.
handful of classes.
Mhm.
I just love to learn.
Mhm.
So I did Tai Chi, I did Mantis, I learned a staff form, I learned the Tian form and a Dao form, all from the same person. And
Mhm.
then when he realized, not to sound like arrogant, but my potential, he
Mhm.
made me an assistant instructor for his classes. So I became
Mm.
an assistant instructor, and I was able to basically start teaching my fellow college students from that point on.
Mhm.
And just from there on, it's just been like dominoes. I want to learn
Mhm.
more about this, learn more about this, learn more about this. And it's just, I found most of my audience from my tea house. I call them my sword family. And I
Mm.
found them because of another martial artist who does
Mm.
European martial arts.
Very cool.
And I found him because of another one who also does Chinese. So it's just
Mhm.
a constant. I want to learn over and
Mhm.
over and over and over. I
Mm.
can't stop.
I love it. And I've said on this podcast a couple of times that that's the biggest thing that I think most of the masters are missing. They get
Mm.
to a certain point and they feel like they're at the top of the mountain. And one of the things that I have always thought about martial arts is that it's a journey that can never be completed. And
Oh yeah.
that's the beauty in it. It's not a stress of, oh, it can never be completed. I've been trying to this is the only question that I will ask that is not a martial arts. It is martial arts adjacent, but this is the only
Mm.
question that I ask that is not to martial artists. And I've been trying to ask this fairly early on in my interviews, and that's if there's somebody that this happens to get on their feed, they're thinking about martial arts, but they haven't done it yet. What advice could you give them?
Okay. So I actually answered this question a couple of weeks ago on my tea house. Someone
Mhm.
basically asked me what I would say to someone who wanted to start martial arts for the first time.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing is you need to find out why. Why do they want to learn martial arts?
Mm.
Because I have had students come to me in the past, and when I asked them why they wanted to learn, it was something that I could not agree to. I tell this story a lot, but it's very, very pertinent to this particular like niche. I had
Mhm.
someone come to me, wanted to learn. I asked him why, and his literal response was, "I want something where I can come to class and then leave the first day and kick ass." That's no, that doesn't
That's not
happen.
possible.
Exactly.
It's not
It's
possible.
you can't do that after one class. So
If anybody's
find out
watching, it's not possible. You have to put
find
the
out
time.
why, and once you find out why they want to learn, then as a teacher, you can build around that why. You
Mhm.
can build what you're going to teach them. Because if you have someone who just wants to learn forms, they just want to
Mhm.
learn katas basically,
Mhm.
then it's going to be a completely different pathway than someone who actually wants to like go to competition or
Right.
I had one student who was actually in the military,
Mhm.
and he wanted, because like military training is very like straightforward. It's very like,
Right.
we're going to do this. It's, we're going to shoot to kill kind of thing. And he
Mhm.
wanted something to counterbalance that. Well, it became Tai Chi. It became fluid, soft movements.
Mhm.
The biggest question is why? Just find out why, and then you can tailor what you're going to teach them based on that question.
Great answer. Okay, so now we're back to just talking. Most of my podcast is just martial artists listening to other martial artists talk,
Mhm.
rightfully so, which is totally fine. I just like to try and get that out of the way in case. The difficult question is next. This question starts with an omission. And then the omission is, as a lifelong practitioner of martial arts, I recognize that I'm equal parts sadistic and masochistic, and I'm probably in the minority. Most of the students that come through that dojo door are not that, and that's okay. They
Mm.
don't have to be. But the question is, Jake, how do you teach a nonviolent person to speak the language of violence when it's necessary?
That's the thing that you really have to get them to recognize, is there are times where it is necessary. There is a quote or an idiom in Chinese that I'm not going to get it direct, but it's
Hmm.
something like, if all of your wars are fought by scholars, then you're going to have an army of thinkers
Mm-hmm.
that are going to get basically destroyed.
Hmm.
It's not a direct quote, but that's basically
Hmm.
the idea that you're supposed to glean from that. So you have to get them to realize that there are situations, and there will
Hmm.
always be situations where violence is necessary. And once you get them to realize that fact, they will then be able to recognize the times when violence is necessary
Hmm.
opposed to when it's just convenient. Because
Hmm.
convenient is easy. Convenient violence is simple.
Hmm.
But when you have necessary violence, then you have to not necessarily completely give up your humanity, because don't ever do that. For God's sake, never do that.
Right. Right.
But you have to kind of push that to the back
Hmm.
to be able to look at someone else
Hmm.
and say, I am going to put violence upon this person.
Hmm.
And as like a philosopher, as a Buddhist, nonviolence is like, you're not supposed to be violent. You're not supposed to kill things. It's difficult. Even for me, for more than half my life, I have been a martial artist.
Hmm.
And even now, still, there are times where I'm like, did I do the right thing there?
Mm,
But I didn't have a choice. There
right.
was no choice. You have to. And if you can't, then perhaps this is not what you should be doing. Perhaps you should be, trying something a little simpler, a little
Mhm,
less.
mhm. Or just do Tai Chi. Just do
Yeah,
Tai Chi.
exactly. That's
Just do
that's
Tai
another
Chi.
thing that actually just annoys me just a little bit, is when people look at Tai Chi not as a martial art, just as like
Mhm,
exercise
mhm,
or like meditation. No, 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 no,
mhm,
no, no. Once you understand the applications of the movements, it becomes a martial art. But if you just want to learn it for like exercise, go
mhm,
ahead. It's wonderful exercise. It's moving meditation. It is beautiful. But
mhm,
once you understand behind
mhm.
it, it's is a very, very powerful martial art.
Absolutely. I tell people that it is okay to study Tai Chi as though it is exercise or something that is not martial art, but it is in fact a martial art. So don't lie about that. Like don't
Mhm.
you can you can say I'm not going to use it that way, but you don't want to study in a way where you think that it's not. That's um what is one thing that you would give every martial arts practitioner in the world? This can be a thought, a concept, a teaching, a philosophy. What would you give them?
See, this goes back to my answer to my previous question. It's curiosity.
That's good.
Curiosity. I have known so many people who stay in their bubble and they
Mm.
don't ever learn anything outside that bubble.
Mhm.
They're always, this is my area. This is my spot.
Mhm.
This is where I'm going to stay.
Mm.
Go outside the bubble.
Mhm.
If I had never been outside of my bubble, I never would have met my audience. Because, like
Mhm.
I said, it was a European martial artist that introduced me to my sword family, to my audience. If
Mhm.
I would have stayed in this Chinese martial arts bubble and not gone
Mhm.
over, I wouldn't have met any of these people.
Mhm.
So it's just curiosity. When I was learning the Jian form from my
Mhm.
second shirt, I was learning it with my partner and
Mhm.
her brother, who would eventually
Mm.
become my brother-in-law. We
Mhm.
were getting payment for basically painting his house. So he taught us the staff
Mm.
form and he taught us the Jian form. We all learned the staff form.
Mhm.
But when it came time to learn the Jian form, it was Shifu and me.
Mhm.
My brother-in-law did not want to learn. And when I asked him why, he said, and this is a direct quote because it still sticks in my brain, it's not a katana. Well, no shit, it's not a katana. So what? Well, you can't draw code. Yes, you can. And I showed him. I took the Jian that I had,
Mm.
put it at my waist, drew and cut. Well, not the same way. Well, obviously not the same way. It's not curved.
Mhm.
That curiosity,
Mhm.
because if you're just staying inside your bubble, you're missing out on everything that's outside that bubble.
Mhm.
So just curiosity, plain and simple.
That's a great answer. That's interesting that somebody would shut it down just because it's not a katana. I don't know that I can understand that idea in my mind.
That was his bubble. His bubble
But
was katana.
that's a small bubble.
That's a very small bubble. Yes.
Katana is a small bubble. Okay. Well, hopefully his bubbles burst and he can expand in some capacity.
Not so much, but I
Mm.
tried. I really did, but
Well, does he still
he's
practice at least?
practice is an interesting way to put it. He's never actually had any formal training. His idea of training is watching anime and trying to replicate the movements that he sees in anime.
Understood. Understood. Okay. Okay. In your estimation, what is one thing that most martial arts practitioners neglect in their practice?
There are a couple of different things.
Mhm.
One of them is probably the biggest one, and this is just in my very limited experience
Mhm.
because there's, a whole world out there that I don't really get a whole lot of introduction to. But
Mhm.
basically stress training what you learn.
Mhm.
Because if you're sparring, in your dojo with people that you know and you spar with all the time, that's great. That's awesome. But
Mhm.
you need the opportunity to stress test that in a real world situation.
Mhm.
And a
Absolutely.
lot of people that I have come across in the greater martial art community, they don't do that. They train
Mm.
not to do that. They train
Mhm.
so that if there is a situation, real life, they don't have to use what they have learned or what they're teaching.
Mhm.
I, unfortunately, on a couple of different occasions, have actually been in situations where I had to use what I was learning
Sure.
in a very much life or death
Mhm.
situation. And after it was over and like my adrenaline went back down and I was able to breathe again, I realized, holy shit, I actually did, this movement or I did this part
Mhm.
of the form. That's the whole point of forms, of katas, if you want to use the Japanese term.
Mhm.
Taolu, if you want to use Chinese, taolu.
Mhm.
The whole point of those things is muscle memory. So that
Mhm.
when that situation happens,
Mm.
you don't have to go, okay, he did this, so now I can do this, and then he's going to do this, and then I'll do this. No, you just let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you need situations in the real world that are not dojo sparring.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The other one is once someone has learned something,
Mm-hmm.
form, kata, weapon, a lot of times it kind of gets put in the back of their mind.
Yes.
They don't keep up with that. A lot of people do. I'm sure there are
Mm-hmm.
people out there that do like every single day, but
Mm-hmm. Some of us.
yeah, you need constant remembering of the things you learned. If you
Mm-hmm.
learn a lot of stuff, you need to remember a lot of stuff
Mm-hmm.
because my second Sherfu at the community college, a regular college semester is like 3.5, 4 months, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on,
Mm-hmm.
summer, spring, whatever. He would applaud students that would learn multiple forms in that short period of time.
Oh.
The Tai Chi class was Yang Simplify 24 the entire semester. You did
Uh-huh.
one form.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a terribly difficult form, but Kung Fu class, he would teach Mantis and then a weapon. It was usually staff because anyone who knows about the 4 pillars of Chinese martial arts, you know that the staff is called the grandfather of all weapons.
Yes.
The staff is the basis for weapon systems. If
Mhm.
someone comes to you and they want to learn a weapon, don't go straight to the weapon. Teach the staff first. But the Kung Fu class, he would teach Mantis, he would teach staff. If you didn't want to learn staff, he'd teach you something else. There were people that were learning 5, 6, 7, 8 forms in 3 or 4 months. You're not learning anything.
Well, and also
Right.
I'd be surprised if they kept them.
Exactly. Yes. And he would applaud these people. He's like, yes, they learned, 5 forms in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once they're done with form 5, go back to
Mm-hmm.
form 1. Because his class, he would teach you the forms throughout the course of the semester. And at the end, you had to perform for the class.
Mm.
Without him, without any prompting, you had to do the entire form by yourself. So if someone learns 5 forms, go back to form 1. See what they remember. I guarantee you, they will not know what they're doing
For sure. For sure.
because they're just learning. I learned this one. Now we forget this one. We learn this one. Forget this one.
Mhm.
Learn this one. You can't do that
Mm-hmm.
to maintain.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. So, Jake, how old are you?
I'm 45.
45. The martial arts is the fountain of youth. I am a little younger than you, but
Mm,
not by much. The reason I ask your age is because you have a broken hip
yes,
or
I do.
had a broken hip, and now
Had.
it is rebuilt, and you're now the $600,000 man.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you broke your hip.
Okay. This is my favorite story because I am minorly famous in my tiny little southeastern Utah mountain town.
Awesome.
Okay. Almost 4 years ago, 2022,
Mhm.
we had our very first Renaissance festival in this town. We've never had one in town before. We have several 2 or 3 hours upstate. We had
Mhm.
one here in town.
Mm.
So obviously I went
Mhm.
in costume with, I don't have the actual one with me, but a training sword. This is a new one. This is my Hanzian.
Very cool.
The one I was using was a Green Destiny.
Mm.
So I was carrying that around. I'm enjoying the Renaissance fair, and they had a board when you first walked in that showed you what was going on the stage.
Mhm.
And they had something at 2 o'clock called Sword School. And I went, ooh, that sounds fun. Let's go to Sword School. So we hung around. We went and ate lunch, come back, they're doing the Sword School. Now, this particular Renaissance fair was sponsored by an armed combat league from upstate, fully
Mm.
armored, and they were the ones doing Sword School. Now, I actually did a video about this on my YouTube channel. There's a particularly odd stage that they have. They're no longer doing the fair, the Renaissance fair, at this location
Okay.
because several people ended up getting injured
Mm.
because of horrible design Okay. You have a stage that is basically level with the ground behind it and
Mhm.
drops into an area that I lovingly call the pit. So
Mhm.
you had the armored knights up here teaching sword school and a whole bunch of kids down here in the pit.
Mhm.
Now, if you give children swords, they're going to play with swords.
Absolutely.
If you give anyone a sword, this is one of my
Mhm.
favorite things to tell people. Everything is better with swords.
Mhm.
Give somebody a sword, they're going to smile. They're going to swing it around.
Mhm.
That's just what people do.
Mhm.
So after sword school is over, the kids are now sword fighting each other.
Mhm.
Well, I had met a gentleman earlier in the day, very awesome guy, full Scottish kid, like sporran, kilt, hose. He had an arming sword. The kids saw him with the sword. They
Mhm.
swarmed him.
Mm.
So sword fighting children.
Mm.
And I looked at my partner and she just kind of looked at me and rolled her eyes and went, go. So I walked over and like 3 or 4 of the kids broke off of the group and started fighting me. So
Mhm.
I have 3 small young boys and 1 young girl with wooden swords. I'm having the time of my life, but I'm walking backwards.
Mm.
Now I was walking away from the stage. I changed direction, started walking back towards the stage. My heel caught the bottom of the stage. I fell backwards, and when my hip hit the edge, it popped the top of my hip bone off. Now,
Okay.
I was not aware of this. I didn't know. I didn't feel, I mean, it hurt just like, when you like fall off your bike, it hurt. I stood up. One of the little girl came up and asked me if I was okay. And I turned to her. And when I turned, my vision started going black. So
Mm.
I laid down.
Mm.
And that's when apparently one of the little boys that I was sword fighting, his mom was an EMT. So he ran and got mom.
Mhm.
And she came and I'm lying on the stage. And instead of my feet pointing up like this, my left foot is completely this way. And when I tried to twist it back, shooting pain. And I'm like, nope, not doing that again.
Mhm.
So I ended up getting an ambulance ride. Right after me, 2 more ambulances showed up because other people had fallen off the stage.
Mm.
I got to the emergency room. They did an x-ray and they're like, yeah, you're not only is your hip broken, but you have like the bone here that sits in your actual
Mhm.
hip. And then this is the actual bone. It had
Yeah.
broken here. The whole head had broken off and this bone had twisted in my leg. That's why my foot was facing the wrong direction because the bone was no longer attached and it was completely twisted to the side.
And that's
Yeah.
painful.
It didn't hurt until I tried to move my foot. Other than that, I'm just
Mhm.
like, well, this sucks.
Mm. Interesting. And what kind of surgery did you have as a result?
I had a total,
Rebuild it all?
I had a total replacement. They told me that they could pin it and I would
Mhm.
be down for like 6 to 8 weeks, or they could
Mhm.
do a complete total replacement and I would be up and walking the next day. And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Were you up and walking the next day?
Yes, then next morning, they got me out of bed, they gave me a walker and had me walk down the hall.
That's wild. Um,
Mhm.
did how much time did you have from surgery to being able to get back to, like, martial arts and full activity?
That was the very first question I asked the doctor. Actually, the
Yeah,
very
yeah,
first question she asked the doctor because I was not. And they told me like 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah.
And then I got physical therapy, and the physical therapist told me 6 to 8 weeks. And I should have listened. I should have listened because we did physical therapy here in my apartment
Mhm.
for like maybe 2 or 3 sessions. And then my physical therapist
Yeah.
was like, you're doing amazing. Like every single time I saw this guy, he's like, you're doing great. You're doing amazing. You're like, people half your age don't do this well. So
Uh-huh.
that kind of gave me a big head. So one night sitting here on the couch. I have exercises that I was doing every single night, the same exercises they taught me in physical therapy. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, you know what? I'm doing good. I'm doing fine. Let's try doing something simple.
Mhm.
Let's do something low impact, something easy. Besides Mantis, I also was studying Bagua Jia. So I'm thinking circle walking. Circle walking is easy. Circle walking is low impact.
Mhm.
I took 2 steps and dropped like a stone right here in this. My partner was in the back bedroom. She had to come and pick me up and put me on the couch because I could not stand up.
Mhm.
And I'm more than half sure that that one stupid thing pushed my recovery back even farther because I tried to jump the gun.
Mhm. Mhm.
It ended up being probably 4 months before I was fully like, I can do some of the things that I could do before because I'm never going to be able to go all the way back to what I was like before the hip surgery. That's not.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
That's a good
at
point.
4, I would say top
So,
70.
okay. I was going to ask you what you felt you've lost and how you have altered your training to compensate for the hip.
I cannot get as low as I could in certain stances. Horse stance, I
Mhm.
cannot get as low as I could before.
Mhm.
With the injured leg, I cannot kick as high as I could before.
Mhm.
There is one particular movement in the Yang Simplified 24 where you bend down and you cross your hands and open. And when you're
Mhm.
opening, you kick at the same time.
Yep.
And with my good leg, I can get almost to my wrist. With the bad leg, I can get maybe slightly above my waist.
Mm.
So I cannot do a lot of really low to the ground stances anymore. I can get
Mhm.
as low as I can. And that's pretty much what I do
Mhm.
because when I was first learning all the way back from my first triple, one thing he would always tell me is don't be like me, be like you.
Mm.
Because I was always trying, okay, he can go down this low. I need to go down this low. He can kick this high. I need to be able to kick this high. And I could never do it.
Absolutely.
So it was just don't be like me, be like you.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
have to work around that now and be like, okay, I can't get this low. Let's
Mhm.
get this low.
Mhm.
And we just, because I also have, my partner has physical limitations. She's one of my students. She
Mhm.
has physical limitations. And before this, I was not fully aware of how limiting certain things can be.
Say more.
And I kind of think I have a better idea of, okay, this is what an actual limitation is. Not, I don't want to, but
Mhm.
I physically cannot.
Mhm. Okay. And what are you doing to maintain mobility? Because like you now don't have the same level of mobility, but are you doing something to maintain what you do have?
But yeah. So I have basically created
Mhm.
a mini form, a mini kata,
Mhm.
because one of my students' biggest complaints is learning the basic stances is boring.
Okay.
But your basic wushu stances are your base. That is your root. You need to have that.
Absolutely.
So I created a form of going through the different basic wushu stances. Horse stance to bow and arrow to 5/6. And I do that every day. And I also, usually at the end of the day, sometimes earlier, I will set a 5-minute timer on my computer and I will just stand in a modified horse stance for
Mhm.
5 minutes. I do forms that I can practice in a limited space, especially in the winter when I don't want to go outside because it's 2 degrees outside.
Right. Right.
So I do my basic stance form. I do horse stance training. I have a website. I can actually send a link. There's also a chat on
Yes.
this. I can Like there is a website that you can use for weapon practice.
Mhm.
It's a Meyer Square. Meyer is a European fencing master, and he created this
Mhm.
quadrant where you attack and then redirect an attack to another quadrant. I do that every day. It's very cool.
What's most interesting to me about that is the different quadrants.
Mhm.
How's that work? Like roughly, you don't have to teach it to us, but like just a rough idea.
All right, so you have a square with a cross in the center. You have one, two, three, four.
Mhm.
And if you're using the website, it will light up and you attack that quadrant, and then it will light up another one. And
That
the purpose of this is to teach you how you attack, the opponent defends. So now you have to redirect that attack.
yes, yes.
And the regular Meyer square is numbered from, I want to make sure I get this right because I don't do it the normal way,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's from the inside out. So it's like
Mm.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Understood.
and then it's 1, 2, 3. You're changing every time you start over.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, I don't do it the normal way. The website
Mhm.
itself, you can set your particular style you want to do it. It has
Mhm.
right-handed, it has left-handed, it has random, and it has thrust. Because in the regular Meyer square, they don't teach you thrusts.
Okay.
It's all slashes.
Mm.
So I do the thrust and the random.
Mhm.
Between those two, and you can set how many rounds you want it to go, how fast you want it to go, how slow. Very cool website. Very cool.
Mhm.
And when you do the thrust, it starts with the thrust. And then you go top corner, next top corner, then bottom, and thrust
Mhm.
again. And I'm going to, just because, I'm going to
Mhm.
drop that link right because it is actually a really, really cool resource for people. Even if you're not using it for a weapon,
Mhm.
you can use it for
What's
punches, kicks, elbows, whatever you want to use
Mhm.
it for.
Seems like it has a lot of application for as well.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's
Thank
over in the side. There's a thing that says
got
private
it.
chat.
No, I got it. Thank you. So we had some technical difficulties. We've had to kick this up. I try and keep this at about an hour. We're
Yeah.
steamrolling over the hour mark. Is there something that you didn't get to say that you'd like to say? And tell the folks that are watching how they can find you if you want to be found.
Yeah. So besides just being a martial artist,
Mhm.
I am also a musician. I am also a just all around artist. And one of the things that I think is really, really useful for training martial arts is calligraphy.
Mhm. Mhm.
There is a connection between calligraphy and martial arts. So I also do calligraphy. I also make, people love these, so I have to. This is a Chinese style journal,
That's cool.
hand bound.
Mm.
I make these for people,
Very cool.
and nice little wax seal at the bottom. That's basically
Mhm.
my design.
Mm.
I make training weapons for people.
Mm.
You can almost always find me just about anywhere online, YouTube, Instagram, threads at Bladed Thesis, which is BLADEDTH3SIS.
Mm.
I have a Facebook. I don't actually check. Well, I have a couple of them actually. I have
Mhm.
one under this name and I have one under the Chinese name that my first Shufu gave me.
Mhm.
That's the one I'm actually on most of the time.
Sure.
But there's also this wonderful website I am a part of called indiecd.com, the Independent
Okay.
Creator Directory. And it is a huge resource for artists. You can
Mm.
find musicians, you can find just regular artists. My partner makes jewelry. You can find comic book artists, animators. So if you go to indiecd.org /about-bladed-thesis, you can find me and links to my Patreon. You can find links to my YouTube. You can find links to my DeviantArt, where I have photographs, and you can find lots and lots of other creators there as well.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Jake, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me. I know time is a precious commodity. I also want to thank you for hosting this and recording this. But more importantly, I thank all of my interviewees because now that you've had this conversation, you are part of my martial arts journey, whether you like it or not. And I thank you for that. I want to thank everybody that watched or listened or a combination of both. And I want everybody to, especially you with your bad hip, keep kicking. Okay. And so then you could stop recording and I